Hello everybody, welcome to Ruby Falcon. Have you ever thought to yourself, I've just woken up for the morning, I should start cooking dinner? No? Well, that's what we're doing today because we're making pulled pork. Pulled pork is amazingly tender and flavorful and very versatile. In addition to being served on its own, it can also be used in a lot of sandwiches and things like that. But it takes a long time in the oven. So, let's take a look at what we need to make it, alright? To make pulled pork, you're going to need a pork butt or pork shoulder roast. You're going to need about 2 cups of chicken broth, 3 yellow onions, salt, pepper, garlic, paprika, and thyme. Do bear in mind that some of these are dependent on what you're planning on making the pulled pork in and the size of your pork roast. We're going to be using the onions as a bed for the pork roast, and the amount of chicken broth you need depends on the size of the container you're roasting it in. Start by making a dry rub. So, to a bowl or ramekin, add salt, pepper, garlic, paprika, and thyme. Mix it all together. An alternate way of doing it, instead of a dry rub, is to add a little bit of olive oil to the herbs and spices, making a paste, and then you can marinate the pork roast for a few days before you cook it. Add your seasoning to the pork roast. Also take this opportunity to peel the onions and cut them in half.
Fanning the flames of the mystery, deepening the listening, losing yourself to the endless symphony of now. You want to dream, want to gain and make your scale, wish to leave the hollow to dance with them.
Add your chicken broth to a small pot.
Follow the beat and leave the noise behind if we be lovers.
Cover and bring to a boil. In the meantime, add your onions to the bottom of your roasting pan to create a bed for the roast. Season the onions with salt. Pepper. time. Rest your pork roast on top of the onions. Once the chicken broth comes to a boil, remove it from the heat and pour it around the edges of your roasting pan. You don't want it to touch the pork. Cover with aluminum foil, wrapping it around the edges of the roasting pan. Now, if your aluminum foil is not thick enough to cover your entire roasting pan, I recommend 4 layers back and forth to prevent any steam from escaping. If you have the heavy-duty aluminum foil that's wide enough for your entire roasting tray, just 1 layer is fine. At this point, we put it in an oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 hours. That's right, you heard me, 8 to 10 hours. The low, slow cooking process is going to make this incredibly tender when it comes out. I'll see you when it's done. Alright, now that it's 8 to 10 hours later, you've lived the rest of your day. Let's get that pork out of the oven. Go ahead and remove the aluminum foil. The onions may have shifted a little bit, that's perfectly normal. Now, what's not going to be easy is getting the pork out of the roasting tray, because at this point it's so tender it literally falls apart. So I'm going to try and sandwich this out. Kind of fell into the broth a little bit, but that's okay. While you're at it, also save these onions, because these onions are incredible in dishes. Let's start with the onions. Chop these up and jar them, save them to serve on dishes, meats, sandwiches, whatever you like. They are incredible. As for the pork itself, this will literally just fall apart with whatever you choose to attack it with. Whether it be your hands, or even just a fork. Look at that. It just falls apart. That tenderness and the fact that you shred it so easily is what makes pulled pork pulled pork. Today I'm serving my pulled pork with some of those onions and a chipotle mayo with wilted spinach and roasted cauliflower. And there you have it, pulled pork. The flavor and texture is so decadent and tender and amazing, and you can do so much with it, depending on if you use a sauce like the chipotle mayo or barbecue sauce or whatever you want. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. If you did, you can click up here to subscribe, and down here is something that the algorithmic overlords at YouTube think that you'll enjoy from my channel. If it catches your fancy, go ahead and click on it. I'll see you next time.